calls me googly eyes.
And you know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
All right, what do you say, folks? Here we go on a Tuesday, April 5, the morning after that phenomenal end to the NCAA tournament last night with Villanova. Big surprise win over the favored University of North Carolina. And this is the day we've been waiting for in the political world, the day of the Wisconsin primary. Here we are with you on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Good to see you this morning. And remember, here on the Bill Press Show, we don't like to hog all the time. We like to give you some time as well to express your opinions. Tell us what all the news means to you, what you think might happen in Wisconsin today. There's a way to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Yes, indeed, in Wisconsin. Remember, it's an open primary, which is a good format for Bernie Sanders. And Ted Cruz certainly seems to have the leg up over in all the polling over Donald Trump. So a big win for Bernie in Wisconsin will catapult him into New York State. A big win for Ted Cruz could really mark the beginning of the end of Donald Trump. 42 delegates at stake for the Republicans in Wisconsin, 96 for the Democrats. And speaking of Donald Trump, boy, not a big rally yesterday at all, even though he brought his wife Melania out in Wisconsin. And people are asking, is this really, has Donald finally run out of gas after the Corey Lewandowski scandal last week and after his comments on abortion, after his prediction of a massive recession? Has the Donald run out of gas? We'll find out. And New York and California both yesterday raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Good for Jerry Brown and good for Andrew Cuomo. Lots coming on. Give us a call again at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, Wisconsin, get out and vote. Let's find out. The next big primary today, voting starts pretty soon in the state of Wisconsin. All eyes on 46 delegates among 42 among Republicans, 96 for the Democrats. And this is it, Tuesday, April 5. Hello, everybody. The Bill Press Show. Coming to you live coast to coast, including in Madison, Wisconsin. On your local Progressive Talk radio station, and in Madison, it's 92.1 The Mic, and on Free Speech TV nationwide. Good to be talking to you. Good to be looking at you on radio and on television on this Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots to cover, lots to talk about on the Democratic side, on the Republican side, plus a great big day for working families across the country, coast to coast, when California and New York on the same day. Governor Jerry Brown and Governor Andrew Cuomo signing legislation making the minimum wage in each of those big states $15 statewide. No longer in those states where you have to go city by city or county by county. It is statewide, and now we need to build on that nationwide. We got lots to talk about, and lots you're going to want to chime in on. 866-55-PRESS is how you do it. That's our toll-free number. Or you can give us a call. You can send us your comments, rather, on Twitter, at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And early on this Tuesday, Team Press all assembled here. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Here we are.
Hey.
How you doing?
All right. By the way, opening day yesterday.
Yes, sir.
For baseball.
Yes, indeed.
Not so much.
Pretty crappy day, man.
Well, yeah, sure. I
mean,
I only really paid attention to the Nats, but yes, you're right. It was not a good day.
Nats won their first game.
You're going undefeated, baby.
I know.
First time ever. Baseball team's going to go undefeated.
Carol was very happy yesterday.
But yeah.
But I mean, how many games were like rained out or snowed out or sleeted out or how it was? It was
a lot.
It was not. And today in Washington doesn't feel like baseball weather. It's pretty cold around
Not
here,
at all.
So,
No, I'm glad there's not a game here today.
But in 2 days there will be.
There will be.
It warms up a little bit.
Yeah.
Ray Rogers is here as well, of course, to take your calls on the phones at 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding. Yep, indeed. He's happy baseball season is here. Our videographer on the job as well. But baseball, who was talking about baseball yesterday? It was basketball. It was the NCAA. What an outrageous, exciting ending to that game. Of course, it was UNC, Villanova. We talked yesterday with Travis Waldron.
Yeah.
That North Carolina favored.
As we all predicted, North Carolina would win.
Yeah, exactly. But Travis did say, watch Villanova because they're red hot. And boy, were they ever. So it was tied, 74-74. Get right down to it. 4 seconds left. Jim Nantz is doing the call here on TBS. And when Chris Jenkins gets the shot, and just as the buzzer is about to go off.
4.7 seconds. Villanova trying to go length of the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt.
Jenkins
gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
There's some fireworks.
Jenkins hitting the winner. at the buzzer. Jim, they're going to check it. I thought it was good live, but how about those onions? A counter.
The crowd just goes, wow.
Unbelievable shot. Unbelievable play. Unbelievable shot.
And he was being blocked. I mean, hands were up.
Yeah, he had
got it
defender
up over them. Incredible. Right.
It's crazy.
And UNC had tied it, right? With a 3 just 3 seconds before that.
Yeah. I mean,
heartbreaking for that kid.
Yeah.
It's a crazy game. Crazy game.
All right.
Look, it just proves all you need is one shining moment.
Is that
get
luck?
That ball.
Is that luck or skill?
That's skill. In all honesty, that was a skillfully drawn up play. The way that they had that that guy sort of like hanging back there, and then just ran right up and got it, put it up. I mean, the guy did get a hand up, but he had a man in front of him, so you essentially have somebody blocking the defender there. So it was well executed. It was perfectly executed. It wasn't just like a Hail Mary 3 or anything.
Yeah, at the precise time necessary, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
you don't want to mess around with that ball much longer than he did.
On a big Tuesday here, Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post will be joining us, as he always does on Tuesday. Same with Igor Volsky from Think Progress. And then Jordan Fabian from The Hill, Amanda Turkle from Huffington Post, and John Nichols from The Nation magazine. How about that for a lineup? But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so there is a new study from the University of Queensland that sought to answer a question. How long does sex last? All right, so they talked to a lot of different people about how long sex lasts, and they said...
Boy, that requires so many definitions.
I know. Okay, so...
I mean...
What
is sex?
Right.
What are we back to Bill Clinton now?
I can tell you this is they specifically talk about actual sexual intercourse, not the lead up to it, but the moment that it begins.
Thank you for clarifying.
I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without going too far. Well, here's the thing. So they say that sex can go between. Sex is a wonderful thing, Bill. It can go from 33 seconds to 44 minutes, right? But the average length of sex, you ready? 5 minutes, 44 seconds. 5 minutes, 44 seconds.
I don't want to know anything more about this.
All right. I report.
No, because there are too many questions and too many possibilities here. And And are we talking porcupines or are we talking elephants?
We're talking humans. Humans.
Porcupines.
I mean, all right. So you've got your iPhone. I've got my iPhone. Jamie, Ray, they both have iPhones. We're pretty well iPhoned out here. Well, turns out Apple is about to sell its 1 billionth iPhone. 1 billionth iPhone. They're expected to announce that they've sold 50 million iPhones during the first 3 months of 2016. That would bring them up to 946 million total iPhones sold. So if you do the math, right, just another quarter, they're getting that much closer to a billion iPhones.
That's amazing. That is just unbelievable. Yeah.
That's a lot of iPhones. Man.
I know. If only the damn iPhones were made in this country, it would be a lot better.
I agree with you on that. But by the way, I just bought a new iPhone for that iPhone SE, the brand new one that just came out. I got one of those for my kids, so I'm contributing to the iPhone.
Yeah, it was made in China.
It was made in China, yes. Absolutely made in China. All right, so a new study took a look at, or a new survey, I should say, took a look at who has the best airline. Which customers are most satisfied with which airline company? Any
Alaska.
guesses? Alaska is actually at the very, near the bottom. Near the bottom.
Really?
Yeah, Alaska's near the bottom.
You just bought Virgin.
Well, Virgin is actually number one. Virgin came out on top.
Well, then I'm right.
Of a new. I guess technically
you are right.
All right.
Technically,
we'll give it to you.
Technically, you are right. That's a good point. JetBlue took second place. Delta was third, which I thought was interesting.
Where's Southwest?
Southwest is actually not in the top 5. They don't have the top 5. I could tell.
Southwest is a good airline.
Southwest's not bad. Yeah, I'm shocked that they're not in the top 5.
Two free check bags.
Bottom of the list.
United.
Spirit.
Oh, Spirit
Airlines is the very bottom. Yeah.
I've heard nightmare stories
I've
about
flown Spirit once, and I will never fly Spirit again. So they were at the very bottom. But Virgin American, man. The Virgin American is my favorite airline. If I can fly it, I will.
My least favorite is American Airlines.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've had some bad luck on American Airlines. And I'm flying them today, so maybe I should shut up because I may end up in the middle.
That's right. That's right. You could get in a real problem here.
Yes, indeed. A big day. Indeed, across the board. All eyes on Wisconsin. 96 again, Peter, for the Democrats, 42 for the Republicans. And the Democrats yesterday were Hillary's kind of almost, I wouldn't say she's written off Wisconsin, but it is an open primary, which is favorable to Bernie Sanders. He does better there because independents are able to come in and get a Democratic ballot. He's bringing in new people, and that's new people can't come in a closed primary. That's why it benefits him. And he's been campaigning there almost nonstop, up and down the state with many huge rallies. So it looks good for Bernie Sanders. So good that the Hillary Clinton people are already saying that if he wins in Wisconsin, by the way, he has won 6, of course, out of the last 7 primaries.
He's won 5 out of the last 6. If he wins Wisconsin, that's 6 out of the last 6.
It'll be 6 out of the last 7. And if he wins there, but they're already saying if he does, it's not going to make any difference because she's going to kill him in New York. It's a way of lowering expectations for Hillary Clinton going ahead of it. The bigger contest, and maybe the more one might have more impact, is on the Republican side, where it looks like Ted Cruz is just about to rout Donald Trump. Now, they were after each other again yesterday. Ted Cruz, first of all, saying that in terms of these rumors from the National Enquirer, not true, says Ted.
I have always been faithful to my wife. I love my wife. She is my best friend in the whole world. And this is the kind of garbage that the Trump campaign engages in. And you know why? Because they can't debate substance.
You know, anytime a candidate's got to stand up and say, I have always been faithful to my wife, it sounds so much like I did not have sex with that woman.
It does.
Miss Lewinsky. Yeah, I mean, and Ted Cruz saying, Donald Trump, he just insults people. That's all he does. That's all he knows how to do.
If you noticed, whenever Donald is afraid, he attacks people, he insults people. And I think people are getting the measure of the man. They understand who he is and why he does that.
And for his part, Donald Trump rolled out his wife Melania. But first of all, he said he's really had it with John Kasich. Because how dare John Kasich be running for president, too? Donald Trump says, he's stealing my votes.
He just says, I'm going to keep running. I'm going to keep running. I don't care. And he's taking my votes.
I mean,
taking my votes.
Taking my votes, not getting his own.
I mean, you can sometimes really tell he's not a politician. He doesn't understand.
So his Trump's ace up his sleeve, right? His winning strategy in Wisconsin, it was to bring out his wife yesterday for the first time. He was talking about what a wonderful man Donald Trump is and how he treats everybody the same.
No matter who you are, a man or a woman, he treats everyone equal.
Equally bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No matter who you are, Donald Trump will make fun of you, insult you. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
call you a liar.
It's so transparent what's happening here. And, I mean, you got to think that he could get a better spokesperson for how he treats women, right? I mean, than his wife. There's got to be another woman out there.
Than his third wife?
Than his third wife.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny to watch guys like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz act like they care about women. You know, after Donald Trump said this thing about abortion, Ted Cruz had this little round table with all these strong women in his life. But Ted Cruz hates women. I mean, it's so clear in his positions. So for them to fall over themselves to talk about how much they love and respect women is absolutely insane.
So here's the question. Are we seeing, we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday, but we didn't really get to this question, but are we seeing the end of the Donald Trump phenomenon? Is Donald Trump, think about this, let's talk about it, 866-55-PRESS. Is Donald Trump running out of gas? I think he is. I think the combination of that he's been able to ride this, surf this wave, this long by saying absolutely nothing. He's getting to the point where people are really starting to look for some answers, look for some substance, and there's nothing there. Yeah. I think people are realizing that. And particularly over the last 10 days, after the Corey Lewandowski scandal, with his campaign manager getting arrested for battery and assault, after the abortion debacle, taking 4 different positions on abortion within 48 hours, right? And then going out and predicting a massive recession for the United States. And on top of that, losing Wisconsin. Now, I know, of course, New York, he'll probably win New York because he owns New York. But with that combination, I don't think Donald Trump can recover from it. I really don't. I don't know whether Ted Cruz is going to be the nominee, but I'm more and more certain. I'm more and more certain it is not going to be Donald Trump. 866-55-PRESS. He won't get enough delegates, and the convention will not give him the nomination. What do you say? Are we seeing the end? Is this the beginning of the end of Donald Trump? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Show.
Hey, here we go at 26 minutes after the hour. Arthur Delaney coming up at the half hour from Huffington Post. We're talking about whether or not this could be the end of the road for Donald Trump. Look, he's got enough delegates to limp along to the until the convention. I don't think you're going to see Donald Trump fold his tent.
I know you won't see that.
No,
I can promise you won't see that.
And get out. But it looks to me like he's in the downslide for sure. And can he reverse it? What his people are saying, well, okay, even if we lose Wisconsin, man, then we move into our area of real strength with a big win in New York, and then Connecticut and the northeastern states and Indiana and those states coming up, they're going to be just fine. They're still saying they're going to have the 1,237 they need in Cleveland to get the nomination on the first ballot. I would have said that exact same thing 10 days ago, maybe. Not today.
Yeah.
Peter, comment?
We're on Twitter at BP Show. At BP Show, you can chime in there. Phil chimes in, says, Trump done? That guy has more lives than a cat. I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, I'd have
and
to...
there is part of that, right? I kind of agree with what you're saying, that he really stepped in it, but I just don't know.
How many times have we said, no, this is it? Right? Yeah. But I do. I know. With as risky as it is to say it, I think this is it now. Out to the great state of Michigan. Here's Hank. Hello, Hank. What do you say?
Hi, Bill. Yeah, I just want to say that I'm actually more afraid of Cruz than I am of Donald Trump, if that's possible.
I think it is possible. Why do you say so?
Because he is such an ideologue. That if we ended up with one of those two as president, I think Cruz is more dangerous because of his religiosity than Donald Trump and his insanity.
You know what, Hank? I have made that same point to a lot of people, maybe here on the show as well. The difference, I think, is, and you touched on it, Ted Cruz is a real believer.
Yeah.
He's as extreme as you come, and he really believes it. Donald Trump, I don't think he believes in anything, right? Ted Cruz is more dangerous.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Like that beautiful spring weather we had a couple of days ago.
Fine by me.
But you're not going Thursday to the opening game here in town?
No.
No. All right. What a sport.
$10 beers? No. Publicly financed
Those
stadium?
are delicious $10 beers, though.
They are extremely good.
All All right, Arthur, let's start on the Trump question we were just asking, because you've been doing a lot of following the Trump campaign over there at Huffington Post. What do you think after the Corey Lewandowski thing, after the abortion mess, after predicting a massive recession over the weekend? Are the wheels coming off the wagon here a little bit?
Well, I think people are beginning to coalesce around a core Trump attribute that's in all these stories, which is his total nastiness as a human being. And it eroded his support in a new national poll that just came out this morning. He's still way ahead of Ted Cruz, but he fell 3 percentage points. He lost points among women who loathe him.
It's hard to believe he could lose any more points among women, but at any rate.
Yeah, people hate his guts because he's a jerk. And it's reflected in the polling, and after a week with this intense focus on this aspect of him, his support eroded even more. So if anything, if any moment of the past 6 months could be considered potentially a significant negative moment for him, this is it.
You know, before the outrageous things he said, it just, his supporters it made them like him more and more, right? Because this is a guy who just doesn't care, right? He's anti-establishment. He doesn't need their money. He'll just say anything that he wants to, and they kind of like that style. But I have a feeling now that even his supporters are starting saying, maybe this guy just doesn't have what it takes to be president, right? As colorful as he is, it's pretty clear he doesn't know anything about issues and about public policy.
Yeah, and the Lewandowski thing, like, even if you're agreeing with everything he says, you find yourself on opposite sides of the same question on different days. They said nothing happened. She made it up. Then they said he didn't really hit her that hard. So get out of here with your relentless lying.
It is hard to believe that anybody else, any other candidate or any other boss, right, if their number one guy is charged with assault and battery, that you would defend him, particularly against a woman, right?
Yeah.
That you would defend him and then attack her.
And the Trump campaign has now done a couple things that are sort of more like what a typical campaign does. They've reportedly reduced Lewandowski's role in the campaign. And then when he had this,
he's no longer doing crowd control.
Yeah,
they've decided they're gonna leave that up to the Secret Service.
Yeah.
By the way, and his own security team, who get paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah, right. A normal campaign would have fired the guy, but this is what they did
on the spot.
And in response to his comment about the need to punish women over abortion, which basically forced a lot of people to think about what does it mean to call abortion murder. He backtracked. He didn't usually do that. He'll usually just say, I didn't say that.
Right.
That's not my position. So I thought that was curious that they felt like they had to actually backtrack. It showed a moment of vulnerability.
Now, I thought of you this morning with this morning's New York Times, the science section. Aren't you impressed that I read the science section of the New York Times?
I think that's what this is really about.
Here, front page of the science section, Flint's most vulnerable. Lead water threatens the pregnant and the youngest. You've been talking about this for a long time.
That's right, and I've got a feature story up on the front page of HuffingtonPost.com today about Flint and where will the next Flint be? And the answer is anywhere. And why is this bad? Yes, because pregnant women and children are extremely vulnerable to lead. Lead is a deadly neurotoxin that, if you're exposed to it as a child, will permanently reduce your IQ, potentially. Increase the rate of problems like ADD, aggressive behavior. It's a plausible theory for the rise and fall of violent crime in the United States in the second half of the 20th century.
The amount of lead in
the amount
water?
of lead in the air as a result of gasoline, and that has been reduced drastically, and crime has gone down. Now we're talking about lead in water, as lead dust and paint, which have been banned for a while become less significant sources of this, there can be more focus on water as a source.
Whoa. I want to back up. Have there been any conclusive studies proving the link between lead, like from gasoline, lead in gasoline, and violent crime?
Well, it's never conclusive, but we're looking at the clear correlation, and there have been at least a half dozen peer-reviewed studies showing the correlation between the amount of lead in the atmosphere that people are breathing and violent crime, and it goes up and down in tandem from the 1950s on. So it's as plausible a theory for the rise and fall of violent crime in this country as we've got. It's got some detractors, but I think one reason it hasn't caught on is, it doesn't give the police any credit.
Yeah. Well, but now this is a dumb question, I know, but I've lost track. Leaded and we still have leaded gasoline, don't we?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Yeah.
Not in your car. I mean, the lead additive has been phased out. That was contributing to the massive amounts of atmospheric lead.
You can't get it at all anymore.
Right. To be honest, when you see leaded gasoline at the pump, this is not the same thing that we're talking about with where everyone's car had leaded gas. It was an additive that they put in because it benefited the way motors work. People realized this was a major health problem and stopped doing it.
Right. I knew the health problem. Yeah. I never heard the connection between that and possible connection, at any rate, between violent crime. So now we've gotten rid of the lead in the gasoline. As you pointed out, there's no longer lead in the paint on the kids,
Well, it's still in old houses, but awareness campaigns and remediation is helping.
But now we've moved up to lead in the water, lead in the pipes, and lead in the water.
It's always been a problem. We have lead pipes in millions of homes,
as we know well in Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And people think that the Flint water crisis was maybe caused because there was this incredibly cruel Republican who just wanted it to happen. It happened because there are lead pipes. That is the one essential ingredient. So in this story we did, we're looking at some other cities. Well, what are you doing? How are you enforcing the federal regulation that's designed to prevent this from happening? And it's a little disconcerting because the regulation doesn't say get rid of the pipes. It doesn't say there can be no lead in the water. It says there can be some. And in a minority of the water samples that they take from people's houses every 3 years or so, there can be any amount of lead. So it's a little freaky. And we spoke to one person with the Philadelphia Water Department who seemed to deny that it's even possible for you to get lead poisoning from drinking leaded water, even though this is something that was known to the Roman Empire. We've known that this is a problem for 2,000 years.
The name of the story is Arthur's story in today's Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com, of course. Where's the next Flint water crisis? Anywhere, really. Could be anywhere. Is there any city that has, totally clean, no lead?
Yes.
Where?
Yes, some cities have done that.
Really?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, it's escaping me, but I think California as a state, for example, has done a lot better than many others.
Well, good for you. We're going to take a break, and you can find out during the break and let us know on the other side of the break. But I also need to ask you about the jobs report last Friday, whether that's good or bad news for the American economy. Here with Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. Your questions, your comments, 866-55-PRESS. Maybe a story about the lead in the water in your community, your city or town. We'll be right back on the other side.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The top of the hour with Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com, and Igor Volsky coming in at the top of the next hour. Arthur, is there anyone you've looked nationwide, right, at other places that could follow Flint, the next one we hear about? What about people listening, people watching? Is there any one source where they could go to say, how's my city doing? How's my community doing? Do I have to worry about this for my kids?
It's funny that in general.
How do you find out?
Well, you got to talk to your local water utility or water department, and most of them will do free testing. So you ask them to send you a bottle, you fill it up at your tap, and send it back, and they'll tell you how much lead is in it.
Every city offers this service, or every town?
They should, yes. Or you can get it. You can buy a testing kit on your own. But in a lot of cases, they just don't know what the pipe's made out of connecting the water main to your house, because these were put down 100 years ago,
right.
and people forgot about it. Didn't even keep a record.
So
of
there's no like site where you could click on and just write in the name of your town, and it could tell you whether your pipes have lead in it or not.
Not about the pipes. I mean, the EPA has a site where you can look at what your town has been reporting to the EPA in terms of its lead levels, but that won't tell you about your own house. And I went through this at my house when I started reporting on this.
Yeah.
No one ever told me what our pipe was made out of. You have to ask. They also don't tell you that if you're pregnant or a young child, you actually shouldn't drink tap water unless you yourself have verified that it's lead-free. I mean, this is for Washington, D.C., a town that knows there are a lot of lead pipes around. Some towns don't have as much of a problem, but it's the lead service lines that connect your water main to your house, and also it can be interior plumbing and solder in your own house.
Here's Pat out in Wisconsin. Big primary today, Pat. Hi. How you doing?
Oh, yes. Please go vote. Two things I heard that were kind of intriguing was the fact that, in USA Today they did a thing on schools and how many schools had this kind of stuff, which exposes so many children.
Yep.
Secondly, there's a theory that Hal Sparks presented on his show a few weeks ago on a Saturday on CPT, that many of the violent issues come from people going to shooting ranges that are enclosed. The lead from the bullets sheds itself in dust, and they're not thoroughly cleaned. So you bring it home on your clothes because you've been shooting. The range is dusty with the lead, and that may express some of the reasons why we have police officers with violence episodes, and many of the people who carry guns, concealed or unconcealed, have violent episodes, and their families are affected also because that dust is on their clothes.
Wow.
I've certainly actually heard, and that this has been studied, that people who work at a shooting range are exposed to a lot of lead for the reason that Pat mentioned. It's been a problem in the national parks where people are shooting, and the bullets wind up depositing lead in the environment. It's bad for the animals.
Whoa.
So lead is really bad. It's crazy that we used it for pipes just because it was like convenient for the people who make pipes.
They shouldn't be shooting in national parks to begin with, but that's another issue. The jobs report. How did we do last month?
It was good. 215,000 jobs. Unemployment rate went up 1/10 of a point to 5%, which is still low. But it went up because people are coming back into the labor force, even notably prime age adults who left the labor force, and people are like, oh my God, what's happening? Will they come back? And it was a sign that yes, maybe they will. Maybe the decline in labor force participation won't be totally irreversible.
Right. So clearly, not happening as fast as we wanted, but clearly the economy is coming back month after month after month of net positive job growth.
Yes, it was a positive jobs report.
Right. All right. Well, I'd like to end on some good news. After all this talk about all the lead and all the violence and everything. Oh, one other thing you had a story on. I just want to get it out there. Ebola is done.
Remember Ebola?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the Ebola czar we had.
We had a czar.
We had a czar, the whole thing.
No more czar. No more Ebola. The World Health Organization says Ebola is no longer an emergent problem in West Africa, which is the only place it ever was, by the way.
Yes.
Not that you could tell from our politics.
Yes. And the latest monument on the Washington Mall will be to Ron Klain, who was our Ebola czar.
Remember Ron Klain?
Yeah.
He was a czar.
You do?
Yeah. I remember that was
He was a czar for 6 months, and he got rid of Ebola.
Got it done.
Nailed it.
All right. Just like you nail it every Tuesday. Arthur Delaney, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Mr. Igor Volsky from Think Progress, top of the next hour.
Well, Bernie Sanders was campaigning in Wisconsin yesterday, and he had the help of Tim Robbins. Actor Tim Robbins was there and was campaigning for Bernie. He said that they feel Bernie in their hearts and ready to vote for him in Wisconsin. So he had a little celebrity help.
Is Tim Robbins from Wisconsin? Not that you have to be. I was just wondering.
No. But his wife, of course, Susan Sarandon, we know is a big Bernie supporter. So,
big time, right?
Time.
She's been out there. Yeah. Absolutely. The latest poll, by the way, showed Bernie up over Hillary in Wisconsin, 51-43. We'll be back with Igor Volsky.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
They settled it. There will be a debate, and it will be another debate between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, and it will be Thursday, April 14, just before the New York primary. All that back and forth finally resulted in a lunch date or a dinner date or whatever, a debate date. Hello, everybody. It is the Bill Press Show. Here we go. Tuesday, April 5. So good to see you today. Thank you for climbing on board the bus as we head out from our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
There's a bus.
Yeah, fasten your seat.
Wow.
Fasten your seatbelt there, Igor.
I usually travel by air, but bus will do.
And we are catching up with you all across this great land of ours on the radio and on television. On the radio, look for us on your local Progressive Talk radio station or one of those two great radio apps, TuneIn or iHeartRadio, and nationwide as well on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV or your Dish Network if you got a satellite dish. And here in the studio with us for a Tuesday, Igor Volsky was here as guest host last Friday. Today he has to resign himself to sit in the guest chair, not the host
Not
chair.
as comfortable a chair.
But
at least I'm not standing.
We make it that way. Hi, Igor. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you for having me on this very exciting contested primary in Wisconsin and a big day for the Supreme Court. There's so much happening and we're just into Tuesday here.
I know we couldn't get through it with you. That's why without you. That's why we had to come in with Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hi, Igor.
Hi.
Good morning.
Peter wearing some very nice glasses, new glasses he got while on vacation, clearly, and they're very nice. And I noticed them as soon as I came in. I don't know if anyone else did, but I did right away. I have an eye for these things.
Thank you, Igor.
That's right.
I don't know what to say.
You don't have to suck up to Peter. We'll have you in anyhow. Ray Rogers there on the phones, ready to take your calls. Hello, Ray, and Cyprian Bolding as well on the job. The whole team here. Yesterday was a big day on the West Coast and the East Coast for working families when both New York and California did it on board for $15 minimum wage. In New York, it was Governor Cuomo with the good news.
It will make life better for over 2 million New Yorkers when we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
And in California, Thursday, we talked to Senator Mark Leno, my good friend, who is the author of the legislation. And Thursday evening, I had drinks with Governor Jerry Brown, who signed the legislation yesterday.
Over drinks, huh?
Today, we do something about that in a very significant way, to sign into law the minimum wage of $15 an hour, to give voice to the power and the fervor and the belief of all the people standing here and all the people they represent.
Yeah, big move.
Big move. And you know what else is really significant?
Long overdue.
Long overdue. But you're having a situation where not only are New York and California leading the way, but certain businesses, very large businesses, are providing more benefits to their workers, are paying their workers more as a baseline salary, and are using it to really brand their company. And it's become in recent years a competitive advantage for companies to say, look at how well we treat our workers. Look at how well we do by our workers. And that's a very good development. And it's a testament, Bill, frankly, to the movement that we've seen around 15, raising it to 15, and around increasing the minimum wage more generally. And you're in a situation now where 63% of Americans support raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And then I don't know if you saw yesterday in the Washington Post, there was a leaked poll from business executives conducted by our friend Frank Luntz, and it found, believe it or not, 80% of business leaders want to see the minimum wage go up, and only 8% oppose it. So all this garbage you hear from Republicans about how it's going to take away jobs and ruin our economy is the same garbage, frankly, that they've been spewing since the 1940s during our first minimum wage increases. And every time they've said you're going to see a loss in jobs, and it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened once, and John Boehner said it over and over and over again. And Republican, if you ask Mitch McConnell today or Paul Ryan, they'll say the same thing. It is total total garbage.
And the reason
spewed
is
out by the
yeah.
Chamber of Commerce, and every report and every incident where we raise the minimum wage proves them wrong.
Wrong because the
You know,
traditional economic model, can I just add, the traditional economic model doesn't account for the purchasing power, the increased purchasing power of lower income folks who pump that money into the economy. The money doesn't go into some black hole somewhere and just sits there. It interacts with the economy, and those stores have more customers. They do better.
You know, it's comparable to me to their denying climate change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the scientific evidence is overwhelming, but they just won't believe it, right? The same thing on the minimum wage. The evidence is overwhelming that it's good for everybody across the board, and they're just in this 1940s mindset, which shows it. But good for, by the way, just on one final point, Senator Leno told us that this would not have happened without the fast food workers 15 is fair or whatever it was. I forget what their slogan was that they were chanting outside. But they really
And when they
gave
started,
lift to this movement.
everybody thought they were crazy.
I know,
Remember?
I
It was
know.
like inside 15 because we were at 10, right? What was it? The Dem bill was at 10 or at 12 or 10.50, something like that. But to get to
President
15.
Obama first proposed 9, I think it was 9.25, because Tom Harkin was on our show the day after, and he said, that's not enough. It's got to be like 10, whatever, or 12. But now 15,
Yeah.
right? And they started that. That's where it started. The McDonald's. That's where the first McDonald's.
Fight for 15.
Fight for 15, yeah, indeed. Man, we're just getting started here with Igor Volsky.
fired
We're already
up.
into it, right? Jordan Fabian from The Hill joins us at the half hour. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories.
Try to get out of it.
No, I just, here we go. A couple of other stories making news. So remember the big oil spill that BP had back in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico?
Exxon Valdez. Oh, no.
Not that one. This is a different one. The BP oil spill.
the
Yeah,
BP
right,
oil.
right.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
a federal judge, it's amazing to think this is still going on, but a federal judge just yesterday approved the settlement of what they owed the federal government. That number is $20.8 billion is what they owe the United States government. That is what BP is going to have to pay. Now, should be pointed out, and
I thought they already had paid.
Well, here's the deal. They
Billion.
have paid $28 billion on cleanup and compensation to people who say that, the fishing
right.
industry, right, they couldn't work because of all this. But this is what they owe the government. $5.5 billion will go towards penalties incurred under the Clean Water Act, and then a lot of the other states are going to be given, or a lot of the other money will be given to Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas to cover damages from the spill. So at this point, right, again, look, they spent $28 billion on cleanup and compensation, now another $20.8 billion. I mean, they're getting way up there for this spill.
I think we could conclude that this one oil well wasn't worth its price.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. The Olympic Games are going to be in Rio this summer. We're not that far away. It's about 4 months away. Not even 4 months away. And they're having a hard time giving these tickets away. Right? Nobody really wants to go in Rio. So yesterday,
You don't want the Zika virus?
No. The new minister of sports, a man by the name of Ricardo Leiser, is looking for a way to bump up those ticket sales. He told a Brazilian newspaper that the government is maybe going to buy up a bunch of tickets and then distribute them to public schools.
Oh, well, there
to
you
get
go.
kids and their families to come out, which is
There you
a
go.
fine idea to get
Yes.
people out there, but they certainly weren't planning on the lack of interest of people actually being there. So, having a hard time getting rid of those. And, Donald Trump not only has towers here in America, he has them all over the world. And there's one in Canada that was sort of overtaken yesterday by a man by the name of Diego Reyna. He is a construction worker born in Mexico, works in Canada in construction, and he got to the top of a Trump Tower in Vancouver and flew a Mexican flag.
Oh,
on top of
look
it.
at that.
He says that he's sick
love
and
it.
tired of hearing what Donald Trump has said about Mexicans. Quote, I did it to show that he is benefiting from Mexicans and that we are working hard on his projects and we are not all criminals, end quote. That from Diego Reyna, the man who put a Mexican flag on top of a Trump Tower in Vancouver.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good hero. I call him an American hero, but it happened in Canada. And
Canadian
he's a
Mexican hero.
So good for him.
So maybe we're going to have to build a northern wall.
That's right.
That's the next big proposal.
As well
the
as
next
the
big idea.
As well as the southern wall, right? Indeed. But Igor, I have to ask you, and I know you talked about this on Friday when you were sitting in my chair. These three laws now that we see, maybe there are more. North Carolina, signed by Governor McCrory, whom I hope will be impeached. Georgia, where the governor refused to sign it, and there's a bill pending now in Mississippi, I guess. All of these allegedly protecting the public from some transgender person using the wrong bathroom. First, are these all? Is this a ALEC proposal? Are these all written by the Koch brothers? I mean, it's not just an accident that these are popping up all over the place.
It's not an accident, and I don't believe that it's ALEC or Koch. Koch actually doesn't really get into the kind of social issues.
Yeah.
They allegedly support marriage equality, or so they claim, even though, of course, they support all kinds of causes and politicians that don't. It is from the conglomerate of groups who, after the Supreme Court decision on marriage equality, said we need to turn our sights elsewhere. We need to figure out how to bleed money from our supporters. And so what we're going to do is come up with these laws on a state-by-state basis. And I think over this last year, you've had 300 anti-LGBT laws proposed in state houses across the country, not just these bathroom bills, but the right to discriminate bills that we've seen places like Indiana, for instance. And that's who's been pushing them. So it's groups like the Family Research Council, the FRC, for instance, and Tony Perkins, that guy who still pops up on TV.
I know. Yeah.
That's really who we're talking about here. Yeah. That's who we're talking about. And that's who's behind this and whipping up fervor and kind of the most socially conservative voters in these states. And now, of course, North Carolina is facing a big backlash with 100 businesses saying this doesn't represent the values of our state, and larger companies saying we're not relocating to North Carolina because it does all kinds of damage to our recruitment, and we don't want our workers living in a state
Georgia,
like that.
we saw the businesses saying we're going to move out if you sign
this bill. And it really
bill.
pushed the governor to say, all right, I'm not going to sign this
so
thing.
here's a question. So as I understand it, all these laws or the bills say that you have to use the bathroom with a sex that is, even if you've
even if you've transitioned,
is
you would have to use the bathroom of the sex which you were assigned at birth.
Right, on your birth certificate. How the hell do they know?
Yeah.
That's what I want to. So do people now? We all have to carry around our birth certificate. Is that it? Before I go in the men's room, I have to show somebody my birth certificate. I mean, is it enforceable?
No.
First of all, it's cruel. It's discriminatory, but it's also impossible. It seems to me to enforce. They're going to have a cop in every single restaurant.
Well, no, it's
in every
completely
public place.
unenforceable, and it's not even a problem. There's no issue at all,
no,
right? This is a solution in search of a problem.
I've got a groundbreaking comment. I bet all of us have probably already used a bathroom with a transgender person, right? Like they've already been in our bathroom. And you know what?
Well, I'll tell you.
We survived, and we didn't even know about it. So, like, the fact that they're turning this into something is, like, it's creating a problem that didn't exist. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I also know a lot of women, including my wife, who have used the men's room.
Sure.
When the ladies' room is the long line, right? And there's nobody in the men's room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not? I mean, you can have unisex bathrooms.
People survive. The world will go on.
Look,
I just think the whole thing is
preposterous.
So outrageous.
This is offensive. The North Carolina bill, as you know, goes beyond this bathroom element and kind of sucks out all LGBT protections out of the state's non-discrimination laws and says that local governments in North Carolina can't pass their own non-discrimination measures.
I know.
From the same conservatives who talk about local government and local control,
because
of
that's
course.
what the city of Charlotte had done, and then North Carolina legislature steps in. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm going down to Asheville next week, Asheville, North Carolina. I'm going down there for two reasons, right? Number one is to impeach Governor McCrory. And
Oh,
if that doesn't work,
single-handedly.
for Asheville to secede from North Carolina. and form
Bill's going to lead that
Here we
movement.
go.
and lead that movement and form
Here
its
we
own
go.
state. Okay. Here with Igor Volsky, stirring up trouble on every front today here. 866-55-PRESS. Weigh in from one of those stations, if you will. Igor, we need to talk about Supreme Court when we come back.
Absolutely.
All right, you got it. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball,
Just like that. Say hi.
how to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go. Is this live? Are we live now? It is the Bill Press Show. Yes, at 25 minutes after the hour. Jordan Fabian from The Hill covers the White House for The Hill, coming in at the half hour, and we'll chase Igor Volsky out of here.
Chase me out of here.
Igor, a lot going on with the Supreme Court. First of all, a big decision yesterday. And then, the Republicans still trying to block Merrick Garland. What's going on both fronts? First of all, voting rights
big
yesterday.
Decision, a unanimous decision. All 8 justices, believe it or not, said that the state of Texas can continue drawing its districts based on total population. There was this push to try to get the districts drawn by registered voters or actual voters.
Yeah.
And the court said that no, that everybody deserves representation, that one person, one vote, even if that person is disabled and can't vote or can't register to vote, or if you have a big prison population in your state and those folks don't vote, they still deserve representation. And the great fear is if it had gone the other way, then you would have seen political power shift away from kind of more democratic districts with larger Hispanic populations to whiter rural areas of the country.
This whole movement was part of the suppression of the vote that's been going on after state after state after state. They got this case all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they lost, and democracy won.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was interesting that it was 8-0.
8-0. Yes, by the same folks who brought that case that struck down that key portion of the Voting Rights Act a couple of years ago.
Right. And are we going to get a justice confirmed?
Well, there's a big push for it today. You're going to have folks flying in from all over the country, pressing their senators, particularly from Iowa, the chairman there of the Senate Judiciary Committee, to hold a hearing for Garland and then hold a vote for Judge Garland and see if he has enough votes to be confirmed. Grassley is meeting with Garland, I believe, this week, if not next week. And
I didn't know he was meeting with him.
He is meeting with him. He heard a lot of noise during his town halls, of which he had few back in Iowa, in very conservative parts of Iowa. But even there, folks came out and said, hey, listen, if I have to do my job 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, then you, Senator, should do the bare minimum of yours and hold a hearing on Garland. And then if you disagree with him, vote against him. But do your job, hold a hearing. It's what the Constitution requires.
And I think we're up to 2 or 3 or I don't know, whatever, 4 senators now, Republicans who have agreed to meet with him. So that's progress. Okay.
Yes.
Igor, always great to see you.
Always
Thank you,
good
my
to be
friend.
there.
All right.
This
Jordan Fabian next.
is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean. But because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine. Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more?
How many more colleges?
How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
Here we are now at 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. on the day of this big, important Wisconsin primary. All of our good friends out there on 92.1 The Mic in Madison. Get out and vote. Latest poll shows Ted Cruz with about a 10-point lead over Donald Trump, and Bernie Sanders with an 8-point lead over Hillary Clinton. And I think the results of the primary will be pivotal in both the Republican and the Democratic primaries. Again, we're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., brought to you today by our newest sponsor. Very proud to welcome the sponsors of the Bill Press Show, the International Association of Firefighters.
Yeah.
Great. I was with about 600 of them yesterday at the Hyatt Regency Hotel here on Capitol Hill, and President Harold Schaitberger, and of course, these are the men and women across the country. They put on a different uniform every day and are out there defending us every day, and we owe them a great deal of gratitude in every community in America, the great firefighters, and we thank them for their support of the program. President Obama meeting with the Secretary General of NATO yesterday at the White House, kind of saying, I don't care what you say, Donald Trump, I think NATO is still important. Jordan Fabian covers the White House for The Hill here in studio with us. So, Jordan, this is a very symbolic meeting, right? Even if they didn't accomplish anything.
Even if they didn't accomplish anything, and even if it wasn't put on the agenda just to counter Trump, that was certainly what everyone was looking for out of this meeting, was for Obama to reaffirm this NATO alliance, and he did that.
Like, we're here to stay, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Was there anything, did they make comments afterwards? Was there anything of substance?
Not much of substance. I mean, they talked about the fight against ISIS, the NATO's effort to train soldiers in Iraq to fight ISIS, the war in Afghanistan, where NATO obviously participated. But mostly it was a symbolic meeting to show that the U.S. is still fully committed to NATO, even though Donald Trump has said it's obsolete and he wouldn't be sad if it went away.
The timing of Trump's statement was a little unfortunate for him was it came just a day before or 2 days before the attack in Brussels, where NATO's headquarters is located.
Of course, yeah. So
sort of showing that there's a role for NATO, right?
Yeah, and it was funny. I think just from the comments afterward, you can almost sense that the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General, was more worried about Donald Trump's statements than President Obama, because he was repeatedly stressing NATO's efforts to fight terrorism, fight ISIS, fight Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and really trying to sort of, I guess, defend NATO's worth. Maybe worried that maybe this guy becomes president and the U.S. pulls out and this organization falls apart. So Obama's comments certainly designed to reassure the leader of NATO, who seemed to be a little bit worried.
Well, I have the impression that the president enjoys any opportunity to poke at Donald Trump. I mean, he's been doing so with some regularity, almost on a variety of issues lately.
Yeah, like last Friday, we saw him really go after Donald Trump at the Nuclear Security Summit, where he basically said he doesn't know anything about foreign policy. And he gave this long, extended riff on nuclear anti-proliferation efforts and why Donald Trump is wrong to think that Japan and South Korea should get nuclear weapons. And he seemed to enjoy himself. And I think, but on another level, I think it's about sort of defending these status quo foreign policy issues that the U.S. presidents, both parties have supported for decades, and Donald Trump wants to reverse.
Yeah, I mean, here the president convenes this meeting with leaders, all the world's leaders, basically, who come here to Washington. This is the third or fourth that he's had, and Donald Trump out there at the same time with the exact opposite message, which is we need more nukes, not fewer nukes, right? We need more countries with nuclear weapons, and we have to be prepared to use tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield, right? I mean, just exact opposite of what the president was trying to get world leaders to agree to.
Right, and what the president and his staff keeps telling us is that these comments actually keep coming up in conversation with world leaders. And so, and I think what Obama said on Friday was, a lot of countries have crazy politics around the world where there's, a lot of upheaval, coups, stuff like that. But the United States can't afford to have that because they're, the country is the leader on so many international issues. So the world leaders are worried about this. So I think that, like in the NATO meeting, the president enjoys talking about it because he wants to try to reassure at least world leaders that the United States is not going to turn into some crazy, unpredictable country under a President Trump.
I've heard John Kerry say the same thing, that when he's meeting with world leaders, they bring up Donald Trump like what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah,
they don't get it, right?
That's what we're told is kind of the tone, right? They don't get it. So, the president keeps saying he's confident that Trump is going to win, but I think from his comments, he's acknowledging there's a real possibility there.
So I'm curious, does he mention Trump by name?
Sometimes he does, but most of the time he doesn't. I think when he's asked about Trump specifically, he'll mention him by name, but like in the meeting with NATO yesterday, he didn't mention Trump by name, sort of just defended NATO broadly. So more of a subtle, maybe implied jab at Trump rather than a direct shot.
Right. On the nuclear summit, were there any new agreements that came out of it, or any specific sort of accomplishment or milestone that Josh was able to talk about? This is what we accomplished.
There was a small bore thing that happened, which was there's this treaty that binds countries to better protect their nuclear stockpiles, and they reached the 2/3 threshold of countries signing on for it to take action, and that was a 2005 treaty, I believe. So, more than 10 years of work finally coming to fruition. But on the bigger picture, no, there wasn't much that was accomplished. One of the biggest snubs was Russia not attending. And this is the world's second biggest nuclear superpower. So the U.S. and Russia control 90% of the world's nuclear stockpile. So when you have a country like that not participating, it's hard to get big things done.
And where a lot of the loose nukes or whatever they're called, right, or nuclear material is found. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And where a lot of that material is leaking out of. And what leaders were talking about at the summit is the danger of that type of material falling into the hands of a group like ISIS. And the fear is there, the concern is there, but it's still not clear what, if anything, can be done to really prevent that from happening.
You know, when you think about it, there may be no greater threat than the idea that the terrorists would be able to get their hands on nuclear material.
Yeah.
And yet, it's really something we don't talk a lot about.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And we saw the reports in Brussels that the two suspects were possibly surveilling a Belgian nuclear scientist and maybe trying to gain access to a facility there, either to attack it or maybe, we don't know, but to maybe take nuclear material. So that's, we're being told by officials that there's no direct threat, but there seems to be some wheels turning there.
I had occasion to visit with my friend Governor Jerry Brown when he came for the nuclear summit and last week, and I was sort of curious why the governor of California would be there, but he has really gotten into this issue, and he was just telling me, he said, "You don't realize, how scary this is, right, and how real this threat is." And he said he can't believe that people are not taking it more seriously, and he certainly is. But he showed me a book by William Perry, who was Defense Secretary, I think, under Carter, maybe Clinton. William Perry. Check
Refrigerator Perry?
No, right.
Different William Perry.
At any rate, where Defense Secretary,
yeah,
and just in a recent book, and he's saying that he is stunned that so far there has not been a terrorist attack on the United States using nuclear materials because it's so easy to get their hands on it.
Yeah, and
it's only a matter of time before it happens.
That's terrifying.
And Jerry shows me this book, and he goes, "Why aren't you talking about this? Why aren't people talking about this? Why aren't they doing something about it?"
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for the president because, look, he's a president in his 8th year and holding this summit with 50 world leaders. You're trying to get attention on this issue. And what did cable news cover for pretty much all of those 2 days?
Not the nuclear summit.
Not the nuclear summit.
Yeah. No.
Some other guy who's running for president on the Republican side.
We know. Right. He has really dominated. I apologize for all of us. We all have to say that, right?
Yeah, of course. But I mean, look, you can't ignore Donald Trump. He's the Republican frontrunner. But it's on cable, it's on at least on some networks, it's become wall to wall. So when you have a summit like this, it's normally I think maybe another year this would get more attention, but not this year.
Well, look at the briefings, right? I wasn't there yesterday because I had a speech there with the firefighters. But when I was there last week, the briefing room is not filled anymore. Why? Why not? Because people are out on the campaign trail.
Yeah. But, there's still some things going on.
There are. Yeah, and you're there.
I'm there.
And Jordan is on the job. That's
there.
why we wanted him to come in today, tell us what's going on. We're not going to forget about President Obama. We're not going to forget about what's happening at the White House. We'll take a quick break and be back with Jordan Fabian from The Hill, thehill.com. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. Weigh in anytime.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
Just before the top of the hour, Amanda Turkle from Huffington Post here in studio with us in the next half hour. Right now visiting with Jordan Fabian, who covers the White House for The Hill, thehill.com. Great publication, great source of news for what's happening at both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House and the Capitol. And on Tuesdays, where there's a print edition, you can see my column in The Hill. So we're colleagues here, Jordan.
Indeed.
President is off to Chicago this week. Just going home, sleep in his own bed, or what?
Not even. He's actually going to Los Angeles before he.
Really?
So he won't be spending the night. Shows you how much he loves Chicago.
He's going to Chicago and then on to LA.
That's right. But
okay.
He is going to the University of Chicago, where he once taught, to talk about the Supreme Court vacancy. So this is his first big public event on the Supreme Court since he nominated Merrick Garland on March 16th. So we're seeing the president kind of ramp up the PR battle against Senate Republicans, trying to get them to break their Supreme Court blockade, and this is the first big example of that happening on Thursday.
Sort of kind of building some public support to put pressure on Republicans in the Senate?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So, we saw over recess that some of the senators have said the Republican senators want to meet with Garland. Senator Grassley is saying they're trying to set up a breakfast meeting sometime soon. So that's a movement there, and I think what the White House
sees, a little
sees,
fall in their position.
right?
I think we're seeing.
So I think there's gradually an opening that if there's meetings, there's a hearing. If there's a hearing, there's a vote. So far, I don't think they're there yet. The Republicans have still said no hearings, no vote. But even if Garland isn't confirmed, I think Democrats see this as a potent political issue, especially in the Senate races. where there are a lot of vulnerable Republicans who this could hurt. So the president is going to ramp up the pressure in public on Thursday on this issue.
Right. What does the White House say about what was the thinking, or what have you been able to determine on Garland versus somebody who might have been like a Loretta Lynch, somebody who might have been more historic, progressive, first African American woman on the bench or something? I mean, Garland was a pretty safe choice.
Absolutely, and I actually wrote a piece about this at the time, which was I think they didn't want to talk about historic firsts or anything other than the guys' achievements.
Sri Srinivasan, right?
Right, would have been the first Indian American on the court. I think they wanted someone who, they could just focus on his resume and his record, and that's it. They didn't want to focus on anything else. Kind of keep it simple. The other thing is that I've heard from folks over there in the White House is that Garland, and we've seen this, has this vast legal network of just supporters around the country. So I think when you see someone like, Jerry Moran, who's now sort of flip-flopped on this a number of times.
Senator from Kansas.
Yeah, the senator from Kansas come out and say, this Republican, I think we should have a hearing. I think the thinking is, well, Garland has a lot of connections all over the country, and maybe, lawyers in Kansas, when they hear someone like Jerry Moran say no hearings, no vote, call him up and say, what are you doing?
Yeah,
why are you treating this guy badly? So Garland, unlike other judges, I think has that kind of network where in a confirmation battle like this that's so intense and so partisan that a guy like Garland can survive that, whereas someone like Srinivasan, who has less experience, a smaller network, would have a tougher time.
Right. The president increased the number of clemencies that he's granted last week.
Yeah.
Where are we on that stage now?
So the president granted clemency to 61 nonviolent drug offenders last week, and it's
these are people already in prison, served already part of their time.
Correct. So it's not, they're far behind that target of thousands I think they laid out in 2014 when they started this initiative. But I think they've freed around 280. I might be a little off on that, but it's in that ballpark. They want to increase it. They want to increase the pace. Congress is sort of dragging its feet on criminal justice reform, and they want to try to free as many of these people as they can.
But this is clemency as opposed to pardon.
Right. So the record isn't completely expunged. They're just getting freed from prison. And these are people with very long sentences. I think a third of the people who the president freed last week had a life sentence for most of it just for crack or cocaine charges. A few did have firearms charges, but some were just pure drug charges, life sentence.
Yeah. And so I'm sure they're in a process of reviewing possible cases, and we can expect more of these coming up.
Yes, that's what we're told by the White House counsel, Neil Eggleston, that they want to really up the pace this year. So I think the largest batch that the president did last year was 95 at a time. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll see a bigger one than that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Jordan, thanks for bringing us up to date. It's good to know that things are, even in this lame duck year, things are still happening down at the White House. All right. You got the right beat. Speaking of the White House, we'll take a look at the president's schedule when we come back. Thanks, Jordan, for coming in.
Thanks.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You got it. Coming up, hour number 3. Yes, indeed. So stay tuned on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV, or get set for 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific for our third hour on Free Speech TV. Amanda Turkle joins us from Huffington Post. She's been doing some great reporting lately. And then we'll be joined also, jumping out to Madison, Wisconsin, to talk to John Nichols, the Washington editor for The Nation magazine, on what we can expect out of that big Wisconsin primary for Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. All that coming up in hour number 3. Stay with us.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem But bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing. Bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped, and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot, and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back, no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer. A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Amanda Turkle from the Huffington Post here at the top of the next hour. President Obama today, pretty light day at the White House. He gets a daily briefing today at 10 o'clock. This afternoon, he'll be meeting with Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter about 3:30. At 5 o'clock, he and the Vice President will be meeting with the members of the Joint Chiefs and with the combatant commanders for the United States. And then at 7 o'clock, the president will be hosting a dinner for that same group in the Blue Room of the White House. A beautiful Blue Room right there where they have the big Christmas tree, the biggest Christmas tree of all for those holiday parties. Beautiful room. We will be right back with Amanda Turkle in hour number 3.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
April 14, the date's been set for the next Democratic debate between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in New York, 5 days before the New York primary. Finally decided on a date. We knew they would, just took a little back and forth. Hello, everybody. No doubt about this date. It is Tuesday, April 5. So good to see you today, the day of the Democratic and Republican primary in Wisconsin, a really big day on the 2016 trail. 42 delegates up for grabs on the Republican side. Ted Cruz with a 10-point advantage in the latest polls over Donald Trump, and 8-point advantage, 53 to 41. Let me check it again. 51 to 43 for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton, with 96 delegates at stake on the Democratic side. All right, so all of our good friends out in Wisconsin, get out to vote often and early. And thank you for joining us here as we come to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, as in 92.1 The Mic out in Wisconsin, and also here on Free Speech TV. Give us a call. Tell us what's going on in Wisconsin or wherever you happen to be, what you think about the news of the day at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPress Show. You join the team here, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, hello.
Hey, good morning.
All right. A little chilly here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
For moving into spring, and baseball season already starting. Doesn't feel like it. Ray Rogers is here. She's the one you talk to when you call, and so give her a call at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, on the job as always and doing a great job keeping us looking good on free speech and worldwide on a video stream, TawkrTV. And we welcome back to the studio a good friend of ours we haven't seen for too long from Huffington Post, Amanda Turkle, who is now senior political reporter and politics managing editor. Wow. That's a big title. And
It is. We don't have to use the whole title.
And a big business card.
It almost. Is a big business card. It's two-sided, I think.
Well, congratulations on the new honors. It's nice to see you again. And I've just got to put the word out there. I might be able to catch up with you over the next couple of days. Still in the middle of a little book tour here for my new book, Buyer's Remorse. And don't forget, if you don't have a copy yet, you can get a signed copy. Just go to our website and tell us how you want it signed, and we'll get it out to you, Buyer's Remorse, with that blurb on the cover by Bernie Sanders. The reason I mention it is because taking off right after the show for Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'll be at Collected Works, it's called, in Santa Fe this evening at 6 p.m., Santa Fe, New Mexico, for all of our good friends out there in Santa Fe, Albuquerque area. Thursday evening, I'll be in Corte Madera, California.
Oh, nice.
At a great bookstore called Book Passage at 7 o'clock, talking about and signing copies of Buyer's Remorse. And Saturday night, I'll be in Point Reyes, California, at the Great Point Reyes Bookstore event at what's called the Dance Palace, the community center in Point Reyes, California. So tonight, Thursday, and Saturday, book events, and then back here.
By the way, a great way to keep up with
you're
all
in
that.
charge when I'm gone.
I shall do my best. A great way to keep up is to follow on Twitter at BP Show. We put all the events there, and as you're there, people will be able to check in and see and all that stuff.
And then come out and say hello.
Yeah.
Amanda Turkle here again for the first half hour. John Nichols, speaking of Wisconsin, he's in Madison, Washington, correspondent for The Nation. But our man in Madison will join us at the half hour and give us his take on what we can expect today. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
What's going on?
Just a couple of other stories making news. So a man in Oklahoma was working at a sand pit near Alva, Oklahoma. He was operating his bulldozer, and he hit a little bit of a snag. He hit a little bump in the road, and he stopped and he got out. It turns out it was a mammoth skull along with 2 tusks that he found while he was at work on his bulldozer.
So they immediately called some archaeologists to come out. They got there. They took a look at the animal's remains. They have not been dated yet, but they haven't found the rest of the animal. So they think that what happened is that the animal was hunted, and then the skull, the head of the animal, was taken down to what used to be a river and left there. So they're looking for the rest of the body. It could be anywhere, but what a nice little find while you're at work.
Yeah, and there are always the questions when that happens about who owns it.
Right, that's right.
Whether the property owner does, in this case, I doubt it was the man who was running the backhoe or whatever, or the bulldozer, or the state. You know, I mean, it's all that.
Yeah, they don't say in this article who gets to keep the mammoth skull. It's a pretty cool find either way. Basketball last night. College basketball is officially over as the Villanova Wildcats defeated the number 1 ranked UNC Tar Heels 77-74 on a last minute.
And what a wild ending.
What a finish to that game. I didn't stay up, but I did watch the tape this morning. UNC tied it up 74-74 with a huge shot, which gave the Wildcats about 3 seconds to get up the court. They drew up a play and sunk a 3 at the buzzer that gives them their second national championship. The first one came in 1985. Again, 77-74 is the final score. Cyprian already calling this the greatest college basketball championship game ever. He's saying it's an instant classic.
Cyprian knows. Yeah.
Cyprian knows, yes, indeed.
No, you have to watch. Just go online. Just watch
the shot's amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. And let's say you're a little thirsty, but you also want to get a little high. Or maybe you want to get a little high, and then you, of course, would get a little thirsty afterwards. Well, there's a company here in Washington, D.C. that can help you with both. It's called High Speed, an on-demand cannabis and cold-pressed juice delivery startup. Now, here's the deal. You can give people marijuana. You can't sell marijuana. So what they're doing is you can buy their juice, and then they will gift you some marijuana, right? Because, like, I could give you less than an ounce, right? So you buy the juice for $11, but if you wanted to add a love package, you pay $55, and that will get you a thing of juice and some weed. And it's apparently totally legal. They said they had their lawyers take a look at it, vetted it thoroughly here in Washington, D.C., and they say that it's absolutely legal. So you can get a little juice, get a little high.
You know what this is, Amanda? This is the new economy.
Yeah.
People giving each other gifts because they care so much.
That's right. I care so much about you. Yeah, I'll give you a dime bag of weed. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have to wait for Christmas?
Well, they're up and running. In fact, I went to the website this morning because, I maybe wanted some orange juice for breakfast. And they say they're out of stock.
We're going to try it this week.
We're going to make it work
No,
this
you're
week.
not going to try it this week while I'm out of town. No, you're not.
We'll save you some juice, Bill.
Okay. So, Amanda, you've been doing some great stuff at Huffington Post lately. One of the stories that I enjoyed the most was the question about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman from Florida, who also happens to be, right, the Democratic National Chair of the Democratic National Committee. First of all, she was on with Trevor Noah last night. Kind of gave her a little hard time about the fact that some people think that she has tilted the Democratic Party machine in support of Hillary Clinton and opposed to Bernie Sanders. And Debbie's response basically was, well, it's a tough job, and if I have to take the slings and arrows, then, that goes kind of with the territory.
The reality is I have a job as the National Party Chair that is one that requires a thick skin. It requires me to be able to absorb the body blows so our candidates can stay above the fray. And, if I have to take a few punches in order for them to be able to make sure they can get their message out, then so be it. I'm all about making sure that ultimately we can elect our party's nominee in the general.
What do you think? Has she shown a little favoritism here in the way she's approached the primaries?
I mean, it's definitely a tough job. No one would deny that. But, I think that whether or not you want Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, I think that you could find some some problems with the way that the process has been run. You know, if you try to tune into any of the Democratic debates, you probably have to stay home on the weekend and watch them. And a lot of people are not home on a Saturday night, for example. They're out doing other things. And there weren't very many debates. And I understand that there are fewer candidates, obviously, on the Democratic side than the Republican side, which might result in fewer debates. But a lot of people, whether they wanted Hillary or Bernie, wanted to see the Democratic candidates engage more, and they wanted to be able to watch them when they were home with their families. And so that, I think, was frustrating to a lot of people. But, you know, many of the criticisms of Debbie Wasserman Schultz haven't just come from her time as DNC chair. It's also been her time as a congresswoman, and that's why she's now in trouble in her primary.
She does have a primary challenger, maybe a serious one, it seems, right?
It's the first time she's really had a primary challenge in her congressional career.
Right. First of all, I think it's very tough for anybody to be chair of the Democratic National Committee and be a member of Congress at the same time, not to mention having a family.
Right.
Right? But just juggling those two jobs. I mean, you've got to shortchange one or the other, it seems to me, right?
Right, and sometimes it's in conflict. There was, when the Iran deal, for example, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was very late in coming out in favor of that, and people thought that as head of the DNC, she should be supporting Obama's agenda a lot more vocally, but she wasn't, and she said there were some concerns from her constituents that she waited for a while.
Right.
But that was one of the areas where there was conflict.
No, that's a very good point, right? As a DNC chair, she should have been there. That's their job, right? You do not disagree with your president when you're head of the DNC, right? And yet, as a member of Congress, she had to serve and represent her constituents, right? So you say she's got, for the very first time, a serious challenger. So serious that the White House thinks she's in trouble, and President Obama actually came out and endorsed her.
Yeah, he endorsed her last Monday, and it's not like the president is jumping into primaries all the time.
No.
He rarely does that. He did that also in the Florida Senate race where you have Patrick Murphy running against Alan Grayson, and so he did that there, and he jumped in favor of Murphy. But he did this too for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and it seems like she was calling in a bit of a favor, but she needed that boost.
Right, and has it helped her?
Well, I don't know if it's helped her, but it certainly helped her challenger, who after Obama did that, he got about $100,000 in 4 days, which is a lot of money for a guy who has never run for office, who's a law professor, and just sort of doing this insurgent bid against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And so she hasn't released her fundraising numbers yet. So maybe it helped her as well, but it certainly helped him.
And who is he?
So Tim Canova is a law professor, and he studies big finance with a very critical eye. He has, sort of taken on corporations, Wall Street, campaign finance reform as sort of his main issues. And he said that he thinks that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has essentially become a tool of Wall Street, and her national ambitions have meant that she's neglected the district, and so that's why he's running.
Right. Yeah, and so President Obama basically breaking ranks here in terms of, or breaking his stride in terms of, normally presidents stay above the fray in a primary. I mean, officially he hasn't endorsed either Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders yet, although I think he's clearly tilted toward Hillary with his comments. With the fact that 4 of his cabinet members have already endorsed Hillary Clinton. But officially, he stayed out of it. In this race, he jumped in.
Yep, in this race, he jumped in. But Tim Canova, again, never run for office. He raised over $500,000 in the first 3 months of 2016. That was more than Debbie Wasserman Schultz raised last year in the last couple of quarters. So that's a lot of money. And, I heard from people who said that Tim Canova's campaign said they didn't fundraise off Obama's announcement. They never mentioned it. People just spontaneously gave money. People online just heard about what Obama did and said, let's give the other guy money.
As political managing editor for Huffington Post, who's going to win the Wisconsin primary today?
I mean, it looks like Bernie Sanders is up ahead. I've spent a lot of time in Wisconsin over the years for reporting, and it looks like Bernie Sanders is going to win. And then it looks like Ted Cruz is going to win on the Republican side, which makes the GOP side a lot more exciting.
Why is Wisconsin a bad state suddenly for Donald Trump? I mean, he's been in a whole different variety of states, right? He's done very well so far. And suddenly it seems to have run into a brick wall in Wisconsin.
It was interesting because it seemed like the state where Donald Trump should do well.
Right.
Manufacturing, blue collar, a lot of people who've been hit hard by the economy, and that's the sort of message that does well there. But I think that, you have to remember that people like Scott Walker and Paul Ryan and even Reince Priebus, who's from Wisconsin, are very popular amongst the Republican base there. And so Donald Trump always going after them isn't necessarily the best idea. When he hasn't been received as well at some events, whereas Ted Cruz, I think people are seeing as the alternative. And Wisconsin voters are really, really informed. They have gone through recalls. They've had all these exciting Senate races. They are engaged. They're informed, and so I think that they may also see that they could have a role in sort of messing with the race.
I also think that there's this narrative that's been built that this is Donald Trump's Waterloo, right? Like, this could be the end of Donald Trump. And at the same time, Hillary Clinton is saying, oh, well, if we lose in Wisconsin, it's no big deal. Like it's two totally different narratives for essentially the same situation.
Yeah, and I don't think it's Donald Trump's Waterloo. I think that might be a little overstated, but it doesn't help him, just as it doesn't help. I think, though, New York is more of a big deal for Hillary.
Yeah.
If she loses that, even if it doesn't hurt her that much in delegates symbolically, it's a huge blow.
Meanwhile, here in Washington, D.C., we have another little battle brewing, and that is over a Supreme Court nominee. Huffington Post with Amanda Turkle has been all over that as well. We'll check, and there seems to be maybe a little thaw in the Republican position on the part of some Republicans. Amanda, let's get into that when we come back. You know the number, 866-55-PRESS. You want to weigh in anytime.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
We taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Oh boy, already 27 minutes after the hour, just about a minute and a half here with Amanda Turkle from Huffington Post. So what's your reporting show? What's the latest on Merrick Garland? Republicans softening a little bit?
Not softening too much, but that doesn't mean that progressive groups aren't trying. Their senators come back from recess today, and so progressive groups have flown in 40 people, constituents of these GOP senators in sort of tough re-elections, and they're going to be holding a press conference. They're going to be at the White House. They're going to be at the Center for American Progress, a think tank, doing a briefing there. There's now going to be a billboard truck rolling around Washington, D.C. by the Supreme Court and all over town, showing the number of days it's been since Garland has been nominated, and they're going to be on the road 5 days a week until he gets a hearing. And so far, you really, two Senators Collins and Kirk have said that they are open to hearings. But beyond that, Mitch McConnell is keeping his caucus pretty steady.
And Chairman Grassley?
Grassley is not yielding to the pressure. He has still said he won't have hearings for Merrick Garland, even though during recess he had protests and he had to keep a lot of his events secret to try to avoid more protests.
But he is going to have breakfast with him, is that right?
I think he said he's willing. Some GOP senators are willing to meet with Merrick Garland as a courtesy, but they said they're not softening their position. So we'll see.
Boy, I'm telling you, I think they're making a huge mistake. But maybe they'll bend, maybe they won't. Amanda, so good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right.
This is the Bill Press Show.
QL1.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home, or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, how about it? 33 minutes after the hour now. Here it is on Tuesday, April 5. The Bill Press Show. There with you on your local progressive talk radio station. There with you on Free Speech TV, coast to coast. And what a big day for Wisconsin. Yes, indeed. Both Republicans and Democrats looking at the primary there. It is an open primary with 42 delegates at stake on the Republican side, 96 at stake on the Democratic side. And we've got it covered with all of our good friends on 92.1 The Mic out in Madison, and standing by our man in Madison, John Nichols, Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine, a good friend with all the latest. Hello, John. How many times have you voted yet today?
Oh, it's Wisconsin. We only get to vote once.
Oh,
no. Got to go south of the border for that multi-voting.
Is that why they call it the Wisconsin Nice, right? You only
it is
vote.
Wisconsin Nice. And, I believe even Illinois has rectified that problem. So I think it's a one vote. We're one person, one vote now because the Supreme Court has weighed in and stood for that.
Well, I've been impressed on how Bernie Sanders has been really focused on Wisconsin, working that state up and down. He was back in Madison, I think, again yesterday. What do you sense on the ground, and what can we expect?
What I sense on the ground is that there's been remarkable energy for Sanders, and this is a state that was in many ways a good fit for him. It's a place he's been to many, many times. He is very, very close to Ed Garvey, former gubernatorial and U.S. Senate candidate here. Sanders used to come to Wisconsin to help Garvey. Garvey would go to Vermont to help Sanders years ago. And those deep relationships have definitely, kind of resonated through. But I will counsel, Hillary Clinton also has tremendous support on the part of the Democratic establishment, the kind of the leadership folks in Wisconsin. And so it's a real race. I mean, this isn't being handed to Sanders. If he wins, and I think the polls suggest he will, it will be because of an incredibly intensive statewide campaign where he literally went into all sorts of factory towns, even some rural areas, and did almost a John Kennedy 1960 kind of campaign in Wisconsin.
From this distance, it looks like that Bernie has really focused on Wisconsin, and Hillary Clinton not so much. I mean, he has been there the last couple of weeks, but not with the intensity of Bernie Sanders or the number of events. Is that correct?
That is correct. Although, remember, this state did have, at least going in, say a week or so ago, most polling had Clinton even or even ahead.
Yep.
And so she was in pretty good position. There's no question that as Sanders came in and started to draw these huge crowds, not just in Madison and Milwaukee, but in smaller cities like Wausau and Eau Claire, I think the Clinton people blinked, and they drew back some. But then, interestingly enough, over the weekend, they sort of rocketed back in. They sent Hillary Clinton to Eau Claire. They sent her into Milwaukee for events. They sent Bill Clinton in. So, I mean, I know there'll be folks at the end of the day who try to say, well, Wisconsin was always for Sanders and, Clinton dropped back. I think it's important to understand she put on a real campaign here. Lots of TV, lots of energy. And so the real question is going to be this. Does Sanders win a substantial victory in Wisconsin, or is it a narrow victory? If it's a narrow victory, it still counts for something.
Right.
He'll talk about it. But if he wins a substantial victory, that will have meaning beyond Wisconsin. It will resonate beyond. And what I'll remind you of is that in 2008, when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton got to Wisconsin, Obama, much like what Sanders has done this time, really worked the state hard. He did a lot of campaigning in a lot of the smaller cities, and it paid off for him. He got a 57-43 win. It was very much a pivot point for his campaign.
Right.
And, obviously, I don't know that Sanders will get anywhere near that, but that's clearly what Sanders would be looking for, is that kind of thing.
Now, just for the record, the 96 delegates will be split proportionately, correct? This is...
Yeah, it's a very complex thing, and I won't explain
all
it
right,
all.
But it's not winner take all for sure.
No.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
at the state level and then at the congressional district level.
All right,
yeah.
But I do want to ask you, so I have a couple of articles here in front of me with interesting competing headlines, all right? So the first article, which is from The Hill, says, the headline, Sanders, win in Wisconsin would put our campaign on the way to New York, right? And the other headline here from Politico says, Clinton camp, Wisconsin win won't help Sanders much. So the Clintons are saying,
even a different analysis.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
I'm shocked, Bill.
Yes, shocked, right. But I mean, to say that if Bernie wins Wisconsin, it won't mean much, it's just simply not true. Wouldn't you have to agree?
Well, yeah. Here, I'll tell you what. This is the bottom line on how this race is going. There is delegate math and there's momentum math. A lot of the pundits, a lot of the elites, politically and in media, get all obsessed with delegate math. And it's, of course, meaningful. No one should dismiss it. And it clearly advantages Clinton.
Right.
But momentum math is what keeps voters in the upcoming states interested, engaged, ready to come out, maybe to vote for an insurgent candidate. Sanders needs wins, as he got last week or a week or so ago in all those caucuses, as he may get today in Wisconsin, because that gives that momentum to keep going to the next state and ultimately to get to these big states like New York and California. So anybody who would tell you Wisconsin doesn't matter, I just think that's an incredibly unrealistic assessment of how politics works. So I think Wisconsin's a very big deal for Sanders. And frankly, if it wasn't a big deal for Hillary Clinton, I doubt she would have been in Eau Claire, Wisconsin on Saturday afternoon.
Right, exactly. Now, have you had a chance to look into the claims on the Clinton campaign, that Bernie Sanders is lying to the American people about how much money she's taken from the fossil fuel industry?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've looked at that, and I find that whole back and forth to be, a function of a big problem we have in our politics now, right? And that is the bundling of contributions as opposed to individual contributions. The fact of the matter is that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have gotten contributions from people who work in the fossil fuel industry who happen to be either progressives or liberals, Democrats, however you want to describe them, and they're giving sincere contributions to both of these candidates. That's the truth. Now, what we want to look at is whether there's been bundling of contributions by higher-level people in these industries. Now, when you get into that area, I mean, there's a lot of back and forth on it. The obviously Clinton people say they're very innocent. Sanders people point to kind of large amounts of money, or reasonably large amounts of money. Here's the bottom line that we ought to step away from and just use as our basic concept. As Greenpeace has noted, Bernie Sanders said he isn't going to take the fossil fuel money. Right? He's going to try to avoid, that money from those top level people, from the obviously industry PACs and that. Hillary Clinton needs to do the same thing. She just needs to make the same statement, and then if by some chance, bundle of money comes in or something, to turn it back. I mean, it's instead of trying to.
But she hasn't. She hasn't.
That's the point.
She hasn't done that.
Point.
Yeah.
And I think one of the problems with this story is that everybody's kind of gotten into this complexity of individual contributions versus bundling and all these issues. No, step back and just make the clear statement. You're not going to take that money in the primary and the general election. And that's what I'd like to see both candidates do. As you know, Sanders has. And I think for Hillary Clinton, she would benefit tremendously if she'd step up and do that.
Well, and I must add, because I've been into this a couple of times on CNN with people from the Clinton campaign, they want to talk about the individual contributions, and, she got individuals, right, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
About 309,000. Bernie got about 54,000. But what she's got, which Bernie didn't have, is lobbyists who bundled 11 of them, about 1.2 million, and then companies giving money to her super PACs to the tune of about 3.2 million. And Bernie doesn't have a super PAC, so you got to add that into the total.
Yeah, and I don't dispute what you're saying, and you see, but what we're doing here, Bill, and I don't fault it, is we're doing what journalism should do, right? Get into the details, get into the specifics, but we're also getting into a discussion that does to some extent miss that big picture. And the big picture is a very simple one. Just say you're not going to take it and enforce that on your campaign and frankly, on the super PAC as well.
That's right. And as you pointed out, Greenpeace put out that petition, that pledge. Martin O'Malley and Bernie Sanders signed it. Hillary Clinton did not. Yeah. And that's how it all started.
That's the way to analyze this, frankly. I mean, really. I mean, and then if you find somebody who made the pledge, violated it, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think that it kind of advantage goes to Sanders there because he did say as much. And again, Hillary Clinton is the front runner for the Democratic nomination. She could well be the party's nominee. And as she goes into a November race, these environmental issues, these fundamental issues, these are what excite an awfully lot of young people. This notion of cutting your ties with fossil fuel industry and frankly a lot of other interests, a lot of Wall Street interests. I will tell you, you're supposed to get better as a result of a primary campaign. One of the ways in which I think the Clinton campaign could get better is if it made very clear it's just not going to take some of this money.
John Nichols with us from The Nation magazine out in Madison. Now, the big news for Madison is that I'm going to be coming out there. John, we've talked about it before. We finally have a date. It is May 5. More details later, folks, but we'll definitely be there. John Nichols, we want to see you there, and we'll have a great time in Madison on May 5.
Yeah, we will indeed, and I have to tell you, many people have forgotten to vote today because they're just so excited about you coming.
Don't do that, folks.
But I will remind them that they should go vote and really urge them not to forget to vote in the state Supreme Court race as well.
Yes, indeed. All right. A big day in Wisconsin. Thanks so much, John. Always good to talk to you. We'll see you soon. Right.
Take care, my friend.
John Nichols will be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
To the top of the hour. I think this Wisconsin primary is going to be pivotal in both the Republican side and the Democratic side for all the reasons that we've been talking about this morning. Very exciting. Before we get back into that, let's jump up to Ithaca, New York, where I'm going to be for another Big Book event on the 21st of April. Say hello to Scott. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Bill. What day of the week is that, April 21st?
It's a Thursday.
Oh, I might be able to make it, actually.
I hope so, yeah.
Come through, man.
Check out WNYY up there for the exact spot of the, I forget the name of the place right now, but we'll have more details on our website.
It might be the theater, maybe Kitchen Theater or someplace like that.
We'll stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We're going to have something for you here soon.
Yeah, we'll be promoting it. What's going on, Scott?
The reason I called is because there's a big, huge collision between party politics, as you know, and street politics as far as the Democratic Party, and it's just getting worse and worse. And we have people doing stuff as party, officials that are just unconscionable, both at the state, the local level, and the national level, and some of us on the street are trying to hold them accountable, and we get scathed at some of the meetings. Like when I stood up at a meeting here locally, they didn't even read the candidate's website, and the guy was pro-safe nuke, and he was, possibly even had a mind open for fracking and some other stuff down the road. And we're getting that kind of stuff over and over again, and I think that's why a lot of us have drifted over to Bernie Sanders, because he represents something that's, like he says, it's more of a revolution. I'm glad to see you're kind of more on that side.
Well, I think Bernie is one of the reasons I like Bernie is because I think he's saying, we need to shake up the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has lost its way, I think, in a lot of ways. No longer represents the people that are supposed to represent working class Americans. And
I hope this momentum keeps going and actually doesn't just become a message kind of campaign, and that we actually have a chance of winning.
I believe we do. That's why I'm supporting Bernie. Look, I always say it. I'll back Hillary in a New York second if she's a nominee. But I think Bernie, I really do believe that the Democratic Party is no longer the party of the people. The Democratic Party too often stands up for the same fat cats, and particularly the same Wall Street fat cats that the Republican Party stands up for. And we got to get back on track and fight for the middle class and fight for working class Americans and fight for teachers and fight for construction workers and government workers and people who are, Ed Schultz used to say, who take a shower when they get home from work, not before they go to work.
That's it.
Cops and firefighters, And they're the people the Democratic Party historically all represents. And again, I think some of the party leadership have gotten away from that. That's explains, I think, the success of Bernie Sanders and is why I think not just his message, but what he promises is so important. Scott, good to hear from you. All eyes on Wisconsin. And that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. I'll be back with today's parting shot.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show. Press.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, how do you know a candidate's getting desperate? When she says something like this, quote, "I feel sorry sometimes for the young people who believe this. They don't do their own research." Yep, that's what Hillary Clinton said on Sunday on Meet the Press, referring to reports on the millions of dollars in campaign contributions that she's received from fossil fuel companies. How desperate, how condescending, and how untrue. The fact is, young people from Greenpeace who released that fossil fuel report did do their own research, and Hillary Clinton's financial filings show that she's received a total of $4.5 million in contributions from the fossil fuel industry to her campaign and to her super PAC. And months ago, Greenpeace asked all three Democratic candidates to sign a pledge they wouldn't take any money from oil, gas, and coal companies. Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley signed it. Hillary Clinton did not. Which is why Hillary should not be feeling sorry for young people. She ought to be asking herself why 83% of young people are supporting Bernie Sanders instead of her. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Sabrina Siddiqui here tomorrow as our guest host while I'm in Santa Fe. Be here for Sabrina.
This
you know it.
Is the
we'll be
Bill
looking for
Press
you.
Show.